She said, how are you? Yeah. Good.
Okay. We have just, okay, one more minute. Then we are going to get started with this restorative yoga practice for this evening. So while we're waiting for anybody else that is going to potentially jump on, I'm going to go through the spiel. My name is Bryn. I am a teacher at the YMCA. We are so grateful that you are joining us, whether you're watching this live or, you know, later on at your own leisure. That's the point of this whole thing. So hopefully you have taken the opportunity to visit our CRYMCA page and check out some of the classes, some of the cool stuff that we have being offered to you virtually during this bizarre time that we're just kind of figuring our way out through. So tonight is going to be a restorative yoga practice. So if you have done this with me the last couple of weeks, I apologize. I just like to go through this simply because for anybody who's never taken a restorative yoga class, it's a little bit different. So I just want everybody to kind of understand and know what to expect. So restorative yoga is different because the intention of regular yoga is to feel a stretch and to feel an opening in spaces and you know, create a difference in the body. Restorative yoga is a little bit different because we want you to settle in, and there should be more of an emotional release than anything else in the body. So you're kind of transferring out of the physical body and going more into emotional release and maybe a little bit of the breath body during a restorative yoga class. So the things that you'll notice that are different are we hold the poses for a lot longer. So the poses are not intended to be challenging. So we want you to be as comfortable as you can possibly be in the poses. But we are going to hold them for, you know, sometimes 3 and 4 minutes. So if we get into a pose and you find that after a minute or two, you need to make an adjustment, I would encourage you to do that. Or even if you need to come out of it altogether, I would encourage you to do that. It should not be uncomfortable, so that shouldn't be an issue. In restorative yoga, we use all of the props. So I know that we are not in a studio where I can just pass out a bunch of blocks and bolsters and blankets and stuff. So for tonight's practice, before we get started, if you at home could grab just a couple of pillows, you know, these are like throw pillows, right? So this is something that you could maybe find like on your couch or maybe a decorative pillow on your bed. If not, bed pillows will work just fine. If you have a couple of blankets, this is a yoga blanket, but any throw blanket will do. A big, like a quilt rolled up would probably be, you know, too much cushion. So just a throw sized blanket will serve just fine as our bolster. So we will use this a couple times during the practice. And then this evening, I would really like it if everybody could have a chair. So if you have a folding chair, if you have a dining room chair, if you have anything that is, as long as it doesn't have arms on the sides, it'll work just fine. Even if it's, I would prefer to have a back just so you're fully supported, but even if it's just like a stool or something, that would probably work, but a chair of some sort would be ideal for this evening's practice. So with that being said, we're going to get started. Once we get started and we start traveling into some of these poses, once we get set up in the poses, you'll notice that there is a bit more silence during the restorative yoga class than there is in a regular yoga class, which is hard to believe because I do love to hear myself talk from time to time, so I get carried away. But I am going to try to give you a little bit more silence this evening because it really does kind of enhance the practice. So with that being said, we're going to start in just a traditional Shavasana. You can use one of your pillows if you want to support your head or your neck. And then I'm just going to ask that you roll up your blanket, and that's going to serve as your bolster. So under your knees, stretching out long on your mat. Oh, I am going to use a small pillow just to support my head a little bit. And we're just going to begin to surrender the weight over to the mat. We're going to release any tension that we're holding in our toes and in our ankles, in our knees or hips. Releasing tension from the low back and even from the belly. Taking your awareness to the navel center and just encouraging all those muscles surrounding your belly button to just relax, making no effort to suck it in. Rolling the shoulders back and down and tucking the chin just slightly towards the chest to create a long, flat, neutral spine. Letting your eyes close if that suits you. If not, then just softening your gaze so you're taking in as little light as possible. Separating your jaw. Letting your tongue fall to the bottom of your mouth. Creating space between your teeth. Just beginning to notice the breath. Noticing the cool air on the inhale. And the warm air on the exhale. Noticing the rise and fall of the belly as you draw the breath deep past the ribs, all the way down into the belly. And beginning to feel like you're surrendering all of your weight. You are just giving all of your weight over to the mat, and to the floor, and to the earth beneath you. Trusting the floor to support you. Just staying here for another moment with your breath. Continuing to let go of tension. Now letting your breath just return to its normal pace. You can stretch the fingers and toes just a little bit. I am going to use my feet and just push the rolled up blanket that I was using under my knees as a bolster. Just push it out of the way for now. Opening my eyes. And let's roll to one side. Oh. And the best thing about restorative yoga is if this is where you stay for the entire practice, it's totally acceptable. This is like the best yoga ever, right? Okay. So I'm going to use both hands, press them into the mat to press myself up to seated. And we're actually going to start our practice in the more, I use the word active, but I use it pretty loosely in restorative yoga. So we're going to start with a few active poses and then work our way back down onto the floor. So we're going to start off with the chair stuff. So I am going to take my cushions that I was using just from the couch, throw cushions or whatever, and I'm going to place them on my chair because we are going to begin our practice today in supported warrior 2. So, because I spoke a lot. So, warrior 2 would traditionally look this way, correct? So this is the exact same posture that we're going to mimic. We're just going to do it in a more supported fashion. So deciding the height and the amount of support that you need. I'm going to put both of my pillows here because I know that that's exactly the right height for me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step over. So now I'm going to straddle my chair, allowing myself to kind of gauge how much height I need to add. So you can add extra pillows if you need more support, if you have longer legs, or you can take the pillows away completely. I'm going to start by turning my left foot out. So my left foot is going to be out. And if I were to look down, I could still draw that imaginary line from my left heel all the way straight through to the arch of my right foot. So when I begin to bend through the left knee, I'm going to watch to make sure that this left knee comes up and over the last 2 toes. So the pinky toe and the 4th toe, whatever that toe is called. This left knee is going to stay right over that. I'm going to allow my back foot to slide out until I feel that I can literally just surrender all of my weight over to the chair beneath me. I feel a gentle opening through the hip. I feel a gentle stretch in the back of this leg, but I don't feel any discomfort. I don't feel any strain, and I certainly don't feel like I am supporting my weight. Now, normally your arms would come out to the side here, but this is restorative yoga, so we want this pose to be as relaxed as possible. So keeping your hips square, just like you would in regular warrior 2, we are going to simply rest our hands right here on our hips and gently turn our head to look out over our left elbow. So our gaze will kind of stay down towards the floor, keeping the neck relaxed and keeping the eyes down towards the floor. Now we're going to be here for a few minutes, like I mentioned. So doing your best to get as comfortable as possible in this pose, and then allowing the breath to flow freely. If you feel at any point like it's hard to breathe, you may be working too hard. I mean, how often do you hear that in a yoga class, right? Don't work so hard. Taking one more breath here. And now we're going to make a couple of adjustments that make a huge difference to this stretch. So we are just going to simply transition from supported warrior 2 into the supported high lunge. So I'm going to take my hands on the chair to use as support as I draw my right foot back in. I'm going to lift my bottom up just so I can rotate this back foot. So now my right foot, my right leg is going to go out straight, and both of my feet are going to be pointing in this direction, just like if you were going into a regular high lunge, right? So a high lunge is what you would do like if you were going into warrior 1, right? So your hips are going to be square, looking straight forward. This back leg is going to be kind of up on your toes, extended. So there may be a slight bend, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can bend that back knee all together. So hips facing forward. And you know, in a regular high lunge, your hands would be touching down on the floor. Well, that's too much work in restorative. So we're going to take our hands and we're going to place them one on top of the other, just over the left knee, leaning forward, allowing this right side body to kind of create a straight line and a little bit of opening through that right hip. Keeping your gaze down towards the floor, just out in front of this left foot. Just enjoying, surrendering your weight over to that chair beneath you, feeling that release in your hips. On your next inhale, coming back up to seated. You can rotate that back foot. So now that if both feet are pointing forward. I'm going to position myself kind of right in the center of the chair, all the way back, but more towards the center. I was kind of scooted towards one side, but I'm all the way back so that my back is up against the support of the chair. My bottom is touching the crease, like where the bottom of the chair and the back. So I'm all the way back. And this is what's called, this is my favorite pose because it's so opening. This is just called supported goddess pose. So walking your feet out to the point where you feel a comfortable opening, just a very gentle, comfortable stretch. It doesn't matter if your toes start to kind of go outward a little bit or if they stay pointing forward. Wherever you feel the opening through the hips. And on your next inhale, we're going to draw those arms up. Exhale. Bringing the arms just down, kind of like goalposts. Squeezing your shoulder blades together very, very, very gently. Very gently. Dropping those shoulders away from your ears. Dropping your chin towards your chest. We're only going to hold our arms here for a few breaths. but really, really, really enjoying the way that the breath flows so freely in this open pose. Feeling grounded through your sits bones. And now keeping the shoulders rolled back and down, so your shoulder blades are staying close. We're just gonna drop our hands down to our sides. Palms facing forward, but keeping the chest open, but relaxing the arms completely. Take just a few more breaths here. On your next inhale, bring your hands up to heart center. We're going to draw in a very, very deep inhale. Dropping our jaw for an open mouth exhale. Feeling the release of all the tension and all the energy that gets stored up. One more time. Deep inhale. All the way down into the belly. Open mouth exhale. Fantastic. Okay, we are going to repeat all of that on the right side now. So using your hands to just lift your hips up, and I'm just going to turn so that this right foot is now pointing outward. The left foot stays pointing towards the front, returning to that warrior two pose. So beginning to put a little bend in this front knee, allowing it to come out over the last two toes, still not wanting that knee to cave in, and then sliding this left foot back until you feel the support of the chair underneath you. And now here's what's interesting. Just noticing one side of the body versus the other. Is one side easier? Do you feel more tension, more tightness? Is it more restricted on one side? And if it is, that's okay. Just add an additional blanket or an additional pillow or whatever support system you need. Rolling the shoulders back and down, bringing the hands to the hips, and allowing your gaze to kind of slide down the right arm and off the elbow. Letting the breath travel freely and making no efforts to support your own body weight, allowing the chair to do all of the supporting. One more breath here. And then using your hands on the chair to just lift your bottom up to rotate that left foot outward. So we're going to return to that high lunge. So I guess if you need to scoot back just a little bit in the chair, at least for me. Maybe that's just like the length of my leg requires me to scoot back just a smidge in the chair so that my leg can be fully, my back leg can be fully extended. So if you need to, scoot yourself back just a smidge on the chair so that you can turn and your hips are now square facing over the right foot. Drawing that right foot in just a little bit to create a straight line from your knee down to your ankle. And now on the other side, we placed our hands here over the knee. This time, I'm going to have you place your hands just on one side and the other side of your leg, using the chair for support this time. Pressing your hips down into the chair, creating that straight line, if you can imagine, kind of from your heel up the back of your leg and up through the crown of your head. Feeling that opening in the left side body. Keeping your gaze towards the floor. Just feel your hips kind of melting into that chair. One more breath here. And then I'm going to draw this back foot in just to give me a little bit of leverage so I can press up through the hips as I rotate my feet to face forward. And I'm going to take, if you have cushions underneath your bottom, I'm going to take those cushions out and place them right here on the floor in front of me. And I'm going to return to that forward-facing wide-legged pose. So my knees are going to go wide, just to a comfortable place, not where it's creating any kind of discomfort in the stretch. We're going to go into a wide leg forward fold. So scooching yourself all the way back. So you're all the way back against the chair. Inhale, bringing your arms up overhead. Slow, gentle breath. And on the exhale, beginning to fold forward, allowing yourself to travel between the knees, allowing your hands to come down and rest on the pillows, the cushions that you're supporting yourself with, and allowing your head to fall so that your chin finds your chest. Now, if that's uncomfortable for you, you can take one of those cushions and place it right here, kind of at your belly. So as you lean over, even your belly is supported. So as you travel into this hanging pose, you feel completely supported. Inhale, lifting your head up, sending your arms out to the side like airplane wings, reaching all the way up. Can't stay upside down too long, we'll get lightheaded. Bringing your arms down to your side, shaking out any tension that may have accumulated, shaking out the feet, and we're going to stand it up. So depending on wherever you're positioned, your chair might be fine exactly where it's at. I'm gonna move mine so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. But I'm gonna move my chair to right here, and I'm gonna kind of kneel down in front of it. So reaching back and finding that blanket that I used earlier as my bolster, I'm gonna place that blanket just over like the middle of my calves, just the middle, because we are gonna go into supported fallen leaf. So my knees are gonna go wide, my feet are gonna be touching, so my big toes are touching. I'm gonna reach my arms out onto this chair and allow my hips to travel back. So now my hips are gonna be resting on this soft cushion back here. My arms are reaching, and my forehead is gonna come down and rest on this chair. Feeling a release through my chest, through my shoulders, through the low back. On your next inhale, lifting your head up slowly so you don't get lightheaded. Walking your hands up the chair and coming all the way up to seated. I'm going to remove the bolster from behind my knees, and I'm just going to place it right here on the floor. And I am going to plant my feet just kind of right in front of the chair, or maybe just a little bit under the chair. And I'm going to slowly begin to roll myself back over this bolster. So this is going to be just above the sacrum, that triangle bone at the very, very base of your spine down there. It's going to just create a little bit of an arch in the back. So once you lay flat, if you decide, ugh, that's too much, it makes it uncomfortable, you can always unroll it a little bit. That's the best thing about using a blanket, is that you get to adjust how much height or how little height that you have. Once you get it to a position where you feel like it's just a very, very gentle arch in the back, I'm going to have you take one foot and then the other up onto the chair, resting your feet kind of from the entire calf all the way down to the foot, up on the chair, and letting the arms go wide. So allowing your tailbone to kind of tip down towards the floor, and then the legs are elevated.
Taking one more full inhale and exhale here. And then taking your feet to the edge of your chair and careful not to slide it across, the room, but just bridging your hips up just enough to pull that bolster out from underneath your hips and move it up towards your head. You'll need it up there in just a few minutes. And then drawing your knees into your chest and just rocking side to side. A nice release from that little mini back bend. And now you can take your feet and push that chair away. We will not need it again. We will need, if you can reach over and just grab one of your cushions that you had before. And we're going to place that pillow right between your knees. So as you're rocking side to side, you're going to begin to let those knees fall towards the left. So if you have that other cushion handy and you need it, you can place it under your left knee so that it's not resting quite on the floor. Or if it feels good to stretch your back a little bit further, allowing your knees to travel all the way over so that your left leg is flat on the floor and the cushion is just between your knees. Sending your arms out wide. And if it's comfortable for you, picking up your head and looking out over the right shoulder. Imagining with every exhale that the whole right side is just letting go of tension and strain, and it's getting longer and looser.
On your next exhale, bring your head back to neutral, drawing the knees into the chest, just wrapping your arms around them. I'm going to keep my pillow right where it's at because it just feels good. And I'm going to rock side to side. And when you're ready, slowly lowering the knees down to rest on the right knee. And again, if you'd like, you can add that extra cushion underneath if that creates too much of a pull on the left side to have your right knee resting all the way on the floor. You can add that extra cushion. Sending the arms out. And if it's comfortable, looking out over the left fingertips. If it's not, just keep your head wherever it's at. On your next inhale, drawing your head back to center. But instead of picking your knees up and coming back up to center, we're just going to simply take this left arm and bring it across the midline of the body. And you know how I had asked you to take your neck roll and or your roll and just kind of push it up towards your head? We're going to pull that down now and use it as a neck roll. So just laying here in kind of a side lying pose, just to enjoy the pause. I like to extend my arms out just to feel a release in my shoulder, having your head supported, having your hips supported by the pillow. Just taking a few mindful breaths here. On your next inhale, we're going to roll onto our back. So go ahead and take that pillow out from between your knees, place it off to the side. I am going to move my chair because now it's in my way. So I'm going to keep that rolled up blanket behind my neck as a neck support. And if you want to take the opportunity now to grab blankets or pillows or socks or sweatshirt or whatever, we will be going into our final relaxation in just a minute or two. So just having them handy will be helpful. Sending your legs out long on the mat and just enjoying that feeling of stretching your legs out. We've had them bent and kind of active for the majority of this practice. So letting all of the tension kind of melt out of your legs. I'm going to take my pillow and put it right here, just outside of my right knee, my right thigh area, drawing my right foot up, planting it on the floor, just inside my left knee, and exhaling, letting that knee fall out to find comfort on that pillow. Find the support of that pillow, and then you can take your arms either out to the side, you can bend the elbows like goalposts, or you can even take them up and over your head. This is falling tree. So keeping your left leg straight and your right sole of the right foot kind of in towards the knee, but imagining your arms are your tree branches and deciding exactly where you want your branches to be. Oh, this feels so good. Inhale, drawing that right knee up towards the sky. Exhale, sending that right leg out long. I'm going to switch my support pillow over to the left side. And on my next inhale, I'm going to draw my left knee up to the sole of my foot is planted on the mat just inside the right knee. Exhale, letting the left knee travel outward, finding comfort on that pillow. Letting my tree branches go a little bit wider this time. Feeling my whole back body, my hips, my shoulders, everything. Just being so supported by the floor and the earth. On your next inhale, drawing that right left knee up, sending it out long to meet the right, and grabbing whatever props you want to make yourself as comfortable as possible for these last few minutes of relaxation. I'm going to turn my light off just so it's a little bit more dim coming through your phone. Grabbing blankets or pillows, putting on socks. Definitely adding a bolster under your knees to take the pressure off your low back. And now just settling in. Surrendering the weight of your head and your shoulders. And your back. And your hips. And your legs. And feet. Over to the floor. Beginning to slow your breathing down. Allowing the eyes to close if that's comfortable. Creating space between your teeth. And removing your tongue away from your mouth, the roof of your mouth. With every exhale, allowing yourself to feel heavier and heavier and heavier until you feel like there is no separation between you and the floor, you and the earth. Keeping the breath long and smooth. Now as the mental chatter or the chitta starts to come pecking away at the back of your mind, just allowing yourself these last few breaths, giving yourself permission to not answer the call to stress or to worry or to plan or to do. Giving yourself permission to just stay in this state of being instead of transitioning so quickly back to the state of doing. And for once, enjoying the feeling of heaviness. Enjoying a feeling of having a solid foundation. And knowing that in this moment, you are here, you are safe, and you have everything you need. Now, as our time comes to an end, I would just like to thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave you here in this posture, and you decide whether you would like to end your night here. The translation of Namaste in Sanskrit to English is the light in me acknowledges the light in you. And I'm grateful for our time spent together. And I hope to be with you all again very, very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Namaste.